Peter and I connected approximately 3 years ago. And when we saw each other, we connected because we saw in each other something special that we see in many human beings, and you will see it over the time of my presentation. Thank you so much, very kind. It is the deep desire to transform the world for a better place. So let me very fast, when he asked me to come the first time, I didn't know what I was getting into. Now the second time, you could argue I should know and I shouldn't accept. And I really didn't want to. When he said, Peter Ratcliffe's going to come, I said, I'm for sure not going to come, Peter. This is impossible. This is somebody really special that changed the world. I haven't done anything in my life that is of any value that could be heard or shared. Anybody else has a story that is much more interesting. And he said to me something in his charismatic way that he always does, that touched me. And he said, your story is a human story. Your story is a simple story, and people need to hear also simple stories. And I think if there's one thing or two things you need to get away from here, as I stand today in front of you, to realize every one of us carries a story of pain, a story of courage, a story of failure, of dreams, and of hope. And sometimes these small stories outside seem small, but inside are huge and are evolving over time. So today I want to tell you my story a little bit, and I want to share it with you. And not because it's perfect, not because it's heroic, not because it is something special, it's because there's one message in it that if you take home this one single message, you actually could go home now. It is that anyone, absolutely anyone who's sitting here and also outside can make that change that transforms this world for a better place. And today we need it more than any time before. So when I was preparing, I said 11 ways. And I try, when you say 11 ways, people say, well, why not 10? Because every book is 10 ways of doing something, right? And I said, it's 10 commandments. And I tried to bring it down to 10, and I couldn't. So I said, okay, let's make it different, make it 11, because being different maybe is not that bad. So Peter already introduced me. I'm a surgeon scientist, and for many of you, is surgeon and science somehow doesn't belong together. And I will show you, you can be a scientist in anything you do. And many of you will move on to have different careers. Maybe it's not in science, but keep that science in it, that questioning, that reflection, that doubting, and that bringing together. This is my CV, but my CV doesn't reflect at all. I would want just put it up, anything about myself. As Peter said, it's not the numbers, it's not the awards. What is the story? So let me tell you my story. My story is, I was born in Iran. At age 5, the Iranian Revolution happened. My father was involved in the government, was a professor at the university, had a newspaper. My mother was a Catholic in Iran, as a doctor and friend of the family of the king. We had to flee. As a kid, you don't realize that, but when we fled, we needed to find a new home. And we found a home in Austria, and we were very poor. We were lucky that we got asylum. We were immigrants, but we were very poor. When I say the apartment size we had was half of this stage. Toilets were outside, bathrooms were outside until I was 12, 13 years old. I wore the clothes that my oldest cousin wore, then the second cousin, then the third cousin, then my brother and me. You can imagine 4 boys in a row, what type of look you have when you get those clothes. When I went, but my parents collected every single cent they had. Back in time it was Groschen in Austria, to put me in a school and to give me special education, my brother and my special education, so we could use science to transform our lives and the lives of others. So what I learned those early years is many things. 1, the resilience. 2, being different is okay. And if people judge me if I look different, I smell different, or I wear something different, it's okay. I learned delayed gratification. I learned to appreciate every little thing that I got along the way. And I also learned that I need to work for things to change. So through school, kids would not invite me to their birthday, and my parents, even if they invited me, I couldn't go to a birthday party because we had no money to buy a gift for that kid. So I needed to develop a skill set to adapt to that. And the skill set was, I need to be more friendly, I need to be more charismatic, I need to be more fun, I need to bring people together. And that served me as well. So you see, hardship that all of you, everyone, goes through can be a building block for your life. When I went through school, I went into mathematics. I thought, the elite thing was to go into mathematics, chemistry, physics, hard sciences. And I immediately went for the polytechnical school in Switzerland. It was very expensive for my parents to afford that. It was difficult, but I wanted to go for the elite school. I did actually really well in the first year. I got all the scores, I was doing well, I got into the selection, but I was deeply unhappy because I projected on, and that was one of the unhappiest times I had in my life, because while I was doing well, I was not doing what I liked. Even if I was excelling, I was not doing what I thought I was meant for. Why? Because I took upon me the projection of what success should be. And highly intellectual, sophisticated person doing mathematics. That I thought would be the pinnacle, and I needed to reach it. But I couldn't connect to the other people in the space. I went through a dark time then, because I said, I'm gonna drop out of mathematics and chemistry. My father got eventually sick. I needed to return to Austria. Financially, it was difficult, but that was a very difficult time, and I couldn't find my voice, who I wanted to be, how I will transform my talents, the superpowers we all have, into value for the society. So I signed up for chemistry, I signed up for medicine and many things, and I went to all the classes, and eventually I ended up in medicine. And the reason I ended up in medicine was just fortuitous. I just was there. And the lesson there was, for me, sometimes destiny takes you along the way, and you need to listen to your instincts and let it just happen, not try to project on it images from other people that you have received over your life, deconstructing them. So I went into medicine because I thought also, and I'm still thinking, how amazing is it that you help other people and you really get addicted in helping other people, and that makes you inner happy, and you don't expect anything back. So when I went into the medicine, I realized it will not be glorious, it will not be super. Actually, I never wanted to be a doctor because I never found a doctor that I would admire. I was thinking, they're all doing the thing of the past. We heard it in the interviews before. They're doing what I learned 30 years back. There was no science in it back in time. It was just not that exciting to me. So when I went into medicine, I did for 2 years really well. And then I had another crisis. And you will relate to that probably in your lives. There's moments in your life you're asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? Is it a chance? And do we have the willpower to change it? And you always can change. It's never too late. So I needed a time to get away. So I signed up for Spain. It sounds really funny because there was this program, Erasmus program, that said you can go to Spain. And there's this island you can go to. There's nothing there. You would be the first student. I said, okay, sign me up. I went to Spain. In that year was a transformative year of my life. You will think, what did he learn? What mentors did he have? It was just nature. I did just meditation, thinking, and I met people of different walks of life, totally random, that I would never see again. And those influenced me. And the lesson there, and that kept me in my battery because I found my inner purpose there, what I wanted to do, and I found what made me different and where I could add value to other people's life. And the lesson there, it's sometimes taking time off is also important for you to find and think and relate how and who you want to be. The why but bring that why out in the form and shape can be in many forms and shape, and that takes sometimes time off. Then I returned to Vienna with an inner purpose. I said, I'm going to combine science and medicine. I found the love of my life, which was urology. Please don't tell my wife, she will beat me for this bad joke. But I thought urology, and you would think about which intellectual will go to urology, right? Well, it was very purpose-driven. Urology is the greatest field in medicine, the fastest growing field of medicine. Peter I apologize for that, but it is absolutely important. 30% of cancers in urology, I could give you answers like this, but it wasn't that. It was because it's a taboo theme, and because I thought from inside, I'm not the typical surgeon. I needed that skill set or that concept unconsciously to grow to a fuller person. It will make me feel extremely uncomfortable because most people who become surgeons are very skilled with their hand. They're instrument players and so on. I wasn't skilled at anything. I had to learn it. I had to work it, I had to think it, and I thought that would make me a more complete person to be able to help people. So I worked and I did science and medicine while I was a student, because it's never too early. I worked with one mentor, and there's also good mentors, but there's also sometimes also bad mentors, and you need to learn from the bad mentors. The good mentor story you've seen and heard, you wouldn't be here if you wouldn't have any coaches and mentors that make the best and bring the best out of you. But I was very unlucky. I had a mentor who was abusive. I had a mentor who lied, but I didn't see it because I was so altruistic. I was so positive. We published papers, and we had fame, and I was at congresses. I was walking around as a young student. I felt excited until one day I figured out it was all a lie. The data was cheated. There was such a pressure, he cheated the data, and I found that out. A whole world broke down for me. A whole image of goodness broke down, and I couldn't believe somebody like this would be in medicine and science. So I confronted that person. I said, this data is not true. It's not what we found. Why are you reporting that? You know how much courage it took to do that? Because that implied immediately that I was ostracized. The whole group rejected me. It was very uncomfortable because the group, the chief and him, made clear to me that I needed to leave and I would have no future more at this institution. They also told me they would make sure nowhere in Europe I will find a job in urology. So I was very lucky. I found a little ad in the newspaper that they were looking for some technician to work on gene therapy. Believe me, I had no clue what gene therapy was. I thought, that sounds cool, it's future, I'm gonna go there. Just said Houston. I had never been to Texas. I didn't know where Texas could be or what Texas lifestyle would be. So the lesson there was sometimes to grow, and that was the best decision I've ever made. You need to have courage. You need to go uncomfortable, and you become extremely vulnerable. You lose everything. You give up your family, you give up everything. I needed to give up everything I loved to be able to grow, and that was very important. I arrived in Texas, in a place you can imagine how Texas back in mid-90s were, cows and everything. You would think, what you would do? The medical center, amazing, but the rest was not somewhere a typical European. By the way, I was the first student from Medical University of Austria, ending up in Texas. They said, we've never seen somebody from you, your medical degree. Which university are you from? I said, it's from 1365. You're only from 1950. No, there was a sort of misconception. But anyway, when I got there, what happened? My mentor had left. My mentor had gone to another institution, found a better job. The guy who had hired me left. So I was here in a place I didn't know what to do. And I had to set up a lab or do something, find new mentors. And the lesson there was, sometimes you need help. You need to recognize we all need help. And people will offer you help. And you should take that help. Sorry. Anyway, it continued. I worked in a lab. I really started enjoying it. Maybe I'm spending too much time on this slide, but I thought it would be maybe more interesting to show you that life is, as we heard, a continuous selection of options. So I worked there, and I said, I'm going to train in the United States. It's a great training. I've been here for 4 years. I worked in the lab. I had over 100 publications. I was a reviewer for journals. I was respected as a student, and now was applying for a job. I applied to the best jobs as a resident. The first one turned me down. They said, you're not American, so you cannot be good enough. The second one said, you publish too much, you will never be a good doctor. The third one said, you published a lot. Is it really true what you published? Because maybe some of this sounds too good. So there was 1,001 reasons for people to reject me. And sometimes, how good you are, or maybe you understood, maybe you're not understood, you will be rejected. And dealing with that and growing is important because that will make you stronger, better, and hopefully also more productive as you're trying to prove that they're wrong. Finally, I got a job in Dallas. You would think, who the hell would go to Dallas? It was the best decision I ever made. I had a mentor because we were aligned. My mentor and I were aligned in why we were doing things, but he was totally different than me. He was doing BPH research, he was not, but he allowed me to grow in the position I wanted to become. And I met there many other people, specifically close to there. There were, the Marines were positioned close to there in San Antonio, and in Colorado, you had the positions of the Army and the Marines. And they sent each year a student to train with us, a medical resident to train with us. And I learned from these people that I could never understood. Why would you go into the military, where the main job of the military is to take life and then be a physician in there? I learned from these people more than I could ever learn. Many lessons there. You know, in the Marines, they say you never leave somebody behind. I learned that you always have to work together, and only you do it because you're together in it. Sometimes that being together is stronger than anything else, because these Marines don't go to war because of nation and anything. They go there because of the comrade they have next to them. They do these incredible things. I also learned many other things, that otherwise it's turning off. It's not the smartest, it's not the strongest, it's not the funnest who will become the best. But it's that person that when you're exhausted, when you have no more energy, you think there's no more future, you are at the bottom, you somewhere inside you find that little spark of energy to stand up and help the other one. Not for yourself, you would never do, but help the other one who needs it more. That is what's going to be the driver for becoming the full yourself and bringing your spark to life. Then across my life, I went to Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is the pinnacle of medical oncology training in the United States. There, people tell me, you have achieved everything. Why are you going to Memorial Sloan Kettering? You could earn money now. You could get a job now. Another 3 years of training, you're old enough. They never understood. It's not about the money, it's not about the fame, but because there I could learn something I needed to serve my patients better. And that, the lessons there were for me, what I learned there, again by chance, was medical oncology. As a surgeon, you don't deal with drug therapy, but I learned drug therapy because they put me in the wrong rotation. But I didn't understand back then. But many years later, the points connected. And now in Vienna, to be a full doctor, we also do medical oncology, urology. We do everything what the patient needs, not what I've learned. I have to adapt to what the patient needs, and that made it possible for me. Anyway, 2013, I got the call, we want you to become chairman at the Medical University of Vienna. I was the youngest chairman they had ever appointed in the history of that institution. I was so happy, so proud to go back to that place. They chased me away. That place where I saw, in my sense, a lot of light was there, but I had the moment there was a little bit of darkness, and maybe what I've learned in America can bring there. The American said to me, "Are you crazy? You're earning so much money here, you're gonna go to that place. New York, the pinnacle, the epicenter of the world. Why are you going to Vienna? Nobody has heard about this university." They didn't understand, and the message was there for them all, is there my life can be of a bigger value. Because in New York, you have a lot of brilliant people. And money is not that important at the end, as long as you create something good for the people and can live from that. I always was surprised why they pay me to do my job. I honestly, to do my passion. Anyway, I came to Vienna. I thought everybody would be happy. What happened when I came to Vienna? People said, "Look, this American boy is coming. He thinks he's special. We will show him," and so on. And I found a lot of resistance. For years and years, misunderstood. Many of you can relate to that. And the lesson there was, for me, belonging is something you have to earn. It's not a given. You have to work it. And it continued, and I will not bore you further about my life, but this is who I am, and it shaped who I am today. And I hope over this lifetime of experiences I had, I've learned many things that my teachers, specifically my patients, have taught me, and I've brought them in 11 little stories and messages for you. Because nowadays we have to distill it down. My disclosures, number one, although things matter, but what matters the most is obviously the family. We heard it from Peter. You have to have a balance, and mentorship is about that. The charities, when to give. And you can give always, and I come back to that. My life's motto has been per aspera ad astra, through hardship to the stars. But I want to go to the stars, because there you can change the world for a better place. Vienna Medical School, you've already heard it. I will jump that if you allow me. So tip one, this is what you need to go home with maybe. You need to dream big. And this is specifically for Central Europe, for Hungary, Austria, all those countries, because we all think we should be mediocre, we should be light, don't be different. Actually, don't let the mediocrity of your environment drag you down. Don't let people tell you you're not special, just fit in, make it. Don't let them kill that spark you have inside of you. Dream big, make something special out of your life. Make your life count. I always ask the people when I interview them, what will you be when you're 65, 70 and looking back on your life? What will you tell that spirit of you that had that spark, had this superpower? Because each of you has a superpower. That superpower that you didn't use, that you didn't translate into something special. Being different is good, and aiming high is good. And for that, you need curiosity. That was a question early this morning. Academia is not made for curiosity. Academia is to control entropy. But we need the curious mind. And the curiosity is a muscle you need to train. The children have curiosity. They ask these questions, why, how, and so on. Keep that alive. Tip 2, be ready. Being ready, what does that mean? That means in general, your mind is subconsciously working. When you know why you're doing it, when the opportunities show, when the discovery is there, you need to decondition your mind and grab that opportunity. Pasteur says, luck favors the prepared mind. So every day, ask yourself, take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, every day, since I've been in Spain on that little island of nothing, I meditate shortly in the morning, whatever, what am I going to make this day special? It could be something small. It doesn't have to be great. I'm going to be doing something with a patient. And at the end of the day as well, what was special? What could I have done better? So do something that puts you one step closer to your bigger goal. Tip 3, start as early as possible. And we heard it many times, you're the future, you're the great, but we show us what you do. But in reality, you can do it already now. Your curiosity, your intelligence, Your creativity is at the peak at your age. You have enough, you learned enough, you've seen methodologically, you have mentors around. Ask those crazy questions. Every big scientist had that idea, that concept early in his life. This contrary to politicians and writers and so on. But while you're doing that, you need to be also very focused. And this morning with the students, we had that question. You need to focus on the prize and not be distracted by low-hanging prizes, awards, degrees. They all don't matter at the end. Einstein says, any man who can drive safely while kissing a pretty girl is simply not giving the kiss the attention it deserves. 4, be courageous. Being courageous is about taking risks, trusting your instinct, and making mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the closer you're going to get to your goal. If you don't make mistakes, you're not going to grow. You need to be vulnerable, make mistakes, even if people judge you, move forward, learn from it. This is what in science it is. Now in medicine, it's a little bit different. You're hardly going to make any mistakes because it's patient lives. And being at the intersection of the two is the art of it. So now you need to make mistakes because mistakes are opportunities. I said it this morning. I read once Edison did 1,000 experiments before he had the light bulb. 1,000 times he didn't give up. He persevered to find one that discovered that made light come to life in every household. You need to challenge dogma, and you need to realize that if you have an idea at the beginning, it will be resisted. I once was lucky, I met Judah Folkman. Judah Folkman is the father of angiogenesis. He discovered or described a large part these new vascular structures that come in and grow. He was a pediatric surgeon. And I asked him, what was the key difference that made you a success? And he said to me, perseverance. Perseverance, perseverance. Because at the beginning, everybody was calling me crazy. I was not getting grants. I had the papers, as Peter told you, rejected. Nobody understood it. And then I persevered. I didn't give up. I believed in myself. I believed what I had discovered was important. But then, when he was starting getting traction, suddenly everybody was doing the research in angiogenesis. Those big labs that were previously laughing about him were suddenly saying, oh, it's self-evident. I will do that. So he had to drop out of being pediatric surgery chair to have a lab that is competitive. So don't be upset if your toughest critics will be the first to claim your idea, because this is a sign of success. And if they claim your idea immediately, so maybe your idea wasn't great. So if you have a crazy thing, it may be valuable, and other people will either reject you or love it, but you need to move along and prove it right or wrong. 5, make the best of what you have. This comes back again to Central Europe. I meet a lot of people that say, look, I wasn't a success because the teacher was like that, and my mother was upsetting, my father was this, I didn't have the opportunity, the lab is not big enough, I didn't have the grant money in America, I didn't have those. All excuses. Will you, at the end of your life, be sorry for yourself why you didn't bring your super talent to life? Saying because somebody else was the inhibition? There is just no perfect environment. And believe me, I've been at top universities worldwide. Every environment has its strengths and weaknesses. So sometimes your weakness is actually your strength. You just have to realize it. Sometimes I meet people from other countries that travel a lot, and they say, we don't have these diseases, we don't have this MRI machine, we don't have the PET scanner. And then I say, what do you have that is different at your place? It turns out they have a question, a disease process, patient collection that is totally different, can be so enriching and is interesting to study. I actually found my productivity to be highest when working under conditions that were very poor. I told you I was in a lab when my mentor had left. I had to come up with everything myself. I had to learn statistics, ask people, I had to learn how to set up a lab. I had to actually do everything myself, and it was maybe my imagination that took off, and it was the most productive time. So don't make excuses, push ahead with what you have. True winners transform an apparent defect into an asset. And I always say to my students, don't let the environment shape you. You shape the environment. You recreate the reality. Today, science is global and partnership. Whatever you're missing, you can find somebody around the world who would love to work with you. And you see, in all the specialties, you bring the talents of everybody together to achieve our shortcomings that are local. Tip 6, work hard. I told you my life's motive is aspera per astra. I want to get to the light and uncover important things that will make this world a better place. And that comes only in immersing yourself in a problematic, in asking the question, the patient's question, and let it work in a subconscious with you. Knowledge comes from experience, but you need to think, dream, and treat the patients, the problems, and a subconscious will bring you answers. That's why sometimes in the night you wake up and have an idea, or next day you have an idea. And in that sense, also perseverance is priceless. I see my students, and I've trained a lot of students, those that really become great are, as I said, not the ones that come with the best assets. Some are super intelligent, but it's those that will spend every day an additional hour. The best doctor will be that doctor that when everybody goes home, goes back to the bed of the patient, sits down, takes their hand, and asks them, how are you feeling? Tell me that. The best scientist will be the one that will read another 3-4 articles when everybody else is trying to watch something else. But not only working hard is important, it's also working smart. If something becomes too complex, maybe it's too unrealistic for you to translate it. So I think sometimes breaking down the walls and being smart and spending their whole energy on that one experiment that will show whether you're right or wrong, being at the heart of the question, is the way you need to go. Tip 7, this is the tip, I told you tip 1, believe in yourself, right? Now I'm telling, don't believe in yourself, because you need to doubt yourself. I'm telling you, be schizophrenic. I learned that when I was a kid. We had very little toys. So I had to make up games in my mind. I had to play with options, discussions. We didn't have a TV. So I had to make up stories in my mind with the imagination with my brother. We had to play different roles all the time. In science, it's the same. You have to believe your hypothesis, but you have to play the devil's advocate and listen to other people when they tell you, maybe that's not right, maybe that's wrong, I will look at it different. You need to have an open mind to listen to criticism, absorb it, try to prove it right or wrong, and sometimes you'll be surprised. By that process, you're getting better, and by that process, you're finding another truth that is maybe more complete, and that model integrates different opposing view, it seems, but actually they have the same component. The greatest discoveries from the 4 patents I have, 3 were because I was working in a lab, I was expecting something, I was thinking like a surgeon. Peter would say, he would laugh because as an internal medicine doctor, that's the fun they always make. The surgeons can do everything, but it's just wrong. The reality, I was expecting something, and the data was something totally different. And I said, repeat it, do that, do this. Until one day I said, maybe my whole hypothesis was wrong, and that is the answer. And I embraced the finding of the data, and the data told the truth. And we translate that into a patent, and a second patent, and a third patent. The surgeon scientist and the doctor of tomorrow, and many of you will go into medicine, hopefully, because it's the one most wonderful thing. But we heard it this morning. You're not going to be a good doctor today or ever again if you don't understand science, translating science. AI has come, molecular medicine has come, you need to run clinical trials, you need to understand molecular biology, genetics, is all integral part of serving your patients. We are at the age of golden medicine. This is a golden age as never been before, opportunities. in the animal models, we have solved every disease. Now it's time to translate it to the patients. Key question is going to be prevention, not curative medicine. Key question is going to be how to integrate artificial intelligence. Key question in surgery is going to be how to use simulation and not train on humans. Applied research will be always important to translate that into reality. And medicine will change the way we look at big hospitals today, and care is delivered in the hospitals. That's going to move out. It's going to be outpatient. Maybe it's not going to be even doctors. We're going to move from maximally invasive to non-invasive. A lot of things will change in our lifetimes. And you will be the ones who's going to shape that and transform that. Tip 8, work on important issues. So don't waste anyone's time, including yours. Ask, what is important to my patient? How can I improve the health of my patients by a large degree? How can I make that important change? Average topic, average research will be a life misspent. My best friend one time came to me. He didn't want to be a urologic oncologist. He tried really hard. And we were sitting down, and I said, what do you think the most important thing that bothers you? And he said, you know what? I was on vacation in Africa. He's Asian American. And I figured out there was so many sick people from HIV there. It bothered me. And we're not getting the medication to them. I said, what do you think could change that? He said, well, I read this article about maybe circumcision, because what can a urologist do? You know, we're not chemists, we're not HIV specialists. So maybe circumcision can help that, because the infection rates decrease. He has set up a program over the last 15 years with one partner, with a plastic device. We flew to China, we found a little engineer who invented this little plastic device to the foreskin to come off. You didn't need a surgeon, nurses could apply it, technicians could apply it. He done research, got Bill and Fonda and Bill Gates Foundation to give him money. The circumcision led to over 100,000 men being circumcised, adult men. He's shown that over 36% less HIV transfection, syphilis, HPV, any sexually transmitted disease. He's made, through a circumcision, a bigger impact than all my oncology lab research, because he worked on an important issue that bothered him. Tip 9, foster creativity and participate in a process. So what does that mean? No matter what you do, you need to create these little spaces where you meet people from other specialties, trans-specialty, you can exchange. You can listen to them. They don't need to be in medicine. They don't need to be at all in allied healthcare. I have an open door policy. Anybody can come into the door. Yes, I will be less efficient, but I will listen to what is happening. And I set that up in this brainstorming. So I opened a brainstorming club. We were sitting in a brainstorming club, and the lady came. She was a sanitary lady, a cleaning lady, in other words. And she had the idea that was so brilliant that transformed, and I talked about it early on this morning. He said, my son has testicular cancer, you cured him. My husband has prostate cancer, it's a chronic disease, but you tell me it's not aggressive, but you cannot cure him. Why does that make sense? Just a simple question. Out of that, we turned it into a grant. It got rejected 1 million times. But these are people, listen to people, they will tell you something. Creativity will flow from the person you could expect it less. Another one was a patient of mine came, he had really aggressive prostate cancer. And I asked him, and everybody said, why are you asking these questions? I said, what did you do different in your life? Because last year you had normal PSAs. This year it's through REC. We don't see that normally. Turns out he was taking a supplement. And then 3 months later, another patient, I always asked him this question, what did you do? I was a little bit curious. This supplement. we did research on these supplements. I had a lot of backfire because the whole supplement industry of the United States came down on me. And you know this is unregulated by the FDA. I had letters, lawsuits, we published it, lawsuits came after me. My university dean said, we're not gonna protect you if they come for you. At the end, we took down, and we proven everything was true, what we had studied in cell lines. We took that supplement company offline and saved with that a lot of life. But I wouldn't have happened if we had not that person show up to this little creativity club I had created. So at the end, you can be the change you want to see in the world, but you have to be it as a model. In science, obviously, you need to publish, or perish. But you need to publish very diligently. A teacher of mine told me every job is a self-portrait of the person who did it. Autograph your work with excellence. I realized that when I was second-year resident, I'd published about this new surgical technique. I was really proud. I came up with my teacher, he has done something, I published it. 2 months later, or a little bit later, a guy showed up in our poor hospitals, poor people's hospitals, county hospital where you have no insurance, knocked on the door and said, with a translator, I came here because my son found this online and I want to have this procedure. And the guy had collected the money from his village and from Addis Ababa, flew all the way, the village had collected money, flew over to Texas, came, found out where I was, and came and wanted this procedure from me. And I realized whatever you're going to publish, somebody's going to read it, somebody will act upon it, and will take it seriously. So you need to be really careful. It's not that it was wrong, but it was not mature, and I had overstated the applicability, how generalizable it would be. So taking publishing seriously is very important. Tip 11, I'm coming to the end. It is very important to give back to community, not later. A lot of people, they do the American lifestyle, right? This is the American lifestyle. I'm going to earn a lot of money. I'm going to steal as much money as I can. At the end, because I have to go to heaven, I'm going to give back. That's not working like that. You need to start giving back early on. It doesn't need to be in money. It can be in time. It can be in things. Look next to you. There's always somebody who needs your help. A younger person, older person, a friend, sometimes somebody that is not a friend. So be compassionate towards others. It's also smart. I was always nice to the nurses. Turned out the nurse I was nice to one day came back and became the head of the nursing of the hospital. So you never know how they're going to come back. It's better for yourself if you're nice. And the goal is to create value, not to be of success. It's not about the awards and so on, but creating value for others. So discover your talents, the gift you possess, learn how to garner them and share them with others. For that, mentorship is very important, and that is what Peter in his program has created with Andras and all the people. Mentorship is a heart of our nature. Our parents are mentors, our family members. You cannot choose your parents, but you can choose your mentor. So if you think about it, what is a mentor? You probably know the story of Mentor. Odyssey, when he goes along the travel, and he's gone for over 10 years, he takes his son, his only son and heir, Telemachus, and gives it to his best friend and say, be a father, be who I should have been to him, because I cannot be there. And Mentor takes care of this child. A mentor is somebody who sees in you what you yourself cannot see, opens doors where you couldn't even see doors, who catches you when you fall down, who gives you strength where you have no more. A mentor is not somebody who walks for you. He walks or she walks next to you, who pushes you when you're afraid, who challenges you when you feel comfortable, who tells you the truth when you don't want to hear the truth. Because a mentor wants you to grow. He doesn't or she doesn't want to please you. For me, my mentor was my uncle and my father. My father died very young. I was young when he died. My uncle is a sociologist, so you would think, why would a sociologist be a mentor? Mentors can come from anywhere. He learned me the obsession with learning. Embracing discomfort is good. Rejecting the status quo is very good. I only hire people who reject the status quo and tell me I'm wrong. Persisting when others give up, and inspiring those around you. So everything I told you before, that's what I learned from him. So finally, it is the most important is to love what you do. What you're thinking or what you thought this morning while coming to this conference determines what you're going to take home from this conference. What you're thinking on the way to work or to whatever you're doing will determine if you're going to absorb that and translate it in something valuable. You will direct your accomplishments of that day. Sharing that love with others and not expecting anything in return, no money, no fame, and so on, for your sacrifices, because at the reality, everybody will be forgotten and we are just small planktons in this history. That legacy of goodness and sharing that you do will be passed on and somebody will take that and perpetuate yourself. So imagine if each of you touches 10 lives in this life. They touch 10 lives. Within 3 generations, you have transformed the world. And every single human being, if you calculate, will be touched by this around the world. So if there's one thing I learned in my life is you don't need power, you don't need money to make a difference, you don't need wealth to change the world, you don't need a perfect background or yourself being perfect, or opportunities, or even confidence. What you need is your heart, and bring that heart to life. The courage to show up, the strength to grow from failure, the kindness to lift others when you have no more energy, the willingness to do something uncomfortable, new, bold. The world needs you. Now more than ever before, you see how the political world and society is changing. Your empathy, your compassion, your curiosity, your ideas, your courage, most of all, your love. Look next to you, the person who's sitting next to you. Someone there already needs your help. Look inside you. You already know who you are. You just don't know how you want to be or who you're going to transform to be, but that will come with time. Don't let anybody suffocate your spark, grow it, bring it to life. That is it. God bless you.
So thank you very much, Shahrokh. This really, really very motivating, moving talk. So now the stage is for the students. You can ask. This is an asking time and questions time. Please raise your hand if you have a question. There's a question over there. This young guy who has a little bit more hair, I can see, than me. Stand up, please. It's easy to see you compared to me, and please give a mic to him.
So, thank you for your wonderful and encouraging presentation. I would like to ask about the supplements that you mentioned, because we know that also in Europe these are very poorly regulated, and since you have already been in fight with the supplement industry, what would you recommend to do about it? Because you are also causing not only in the supplement industry untrustworthiness, but also in the medical region?
It is a very good question, as a scientific and a social question. You know, as a physician, I'm always very, very impressed that people come to me with cancers and so on, and they're hoping the magic will happen, a supplement, and there's a huge industry behind it. And there's good supplements and there's bad supplements, there's regulated and there's unregulated. Most of the time in the supplement industry, they don't have to make sure what is in there. They can put whatever they want in there, and it's not regulated. Could be harmful. You know, we hear it always, is it complementary medicine or is it alternative medicine? It's a whole area of medicine. And it comes back to the question we heard this morning when we were talking to the students, is science losing the game? Now, a lot of supplements can have a strong science with it, and we need not to reject it. I think it needs to be regulated better, and it is an area that is driven by finance, and you know what the goal of finance is. Take the money out of your pocket and put it in the pocket of the other people. We in medicine are totally, or science, we're totally different. We want to make other people a success. So the why behind the whole industry is wrong. And that is the problem. But how are you going to address that? I think if you see something that is not right, be it in supplement area or something, stand up to it. Have courage, investigate it, ask questions, and change it if you can. I can tell you my history was with that supplement. I didn't realize, I wouldn't have otherwise started it, doing research on it. I did research on it. I proven, the FDA came, investigated us. The FDA said, we don't want to do supplement regulation, but because you wrote an article, now we need to do it. Suddenly I had the Herbal Society of America suing me. That lawsuit was for 100 million. The university said, we cannot go in a lawsuit with them. They wrote articles about me in newspapers and so on, how my research was wrong. The university came to me, shut down my lab, took all my books and said, we cannot afford a person like you because these are too big of enemies. But I will tell you one thing. In a battle of David against Goliath, 9 out of 10 times David wins. Sometimes being a small, insignificant person discovering something or something wrong, you need to stand up for. And if more people stand up when they see something wrong, be it in medicine, be it in society, we would be in a better society. And we don't let these people that are doing wrong and bullying and achieving something for alternative methods be successful. It takes a lot of courage. Think the story of Semmelweis. I mean, the guy was rejected. It's a typical story, right? He was rejected. Nobody wanted to hear what he wants. And everybody else was wrong. And then at the end, they hit him on the head and he died. He never knew what change he made in the world. But that is sometimes the path you have to do. If you see something wrong, like I say in the airport in the United States, you say something wrong, say it, right?
Thank you. Other questions from the floor? There's one question over there.
I really hope nobody asks questions because I don't have the wisdom answers.
Thank you for your presentation. I thought that it was very much motivational. My question would be, how do you deal with procrastination when something seems so much harder than it already is, or if you feel like something is very hard and you feel like you can't do it or can't achieve it?
I think there's a lot of other people that can answer these questions probably better than me. I think procrastination is often a sign of some form of depression. You're unhappy, you're trying to push it aside because it's difficult, because you're thinking you're depressed, you're thinking you cannot do it. So procrastination can have many forms and shapes. For me, always, as you know, we're getting in this very complex world, I ask myself, what is the most important thing? And I dedicate my focus energy to that. And the other things may not matter to me, and I realized it's maybe important or not important. It's maybe not procrastination, but rededicating your energy to the thing that matters most. And you don't need to be perfect, right? But sometimes, I guess the way, the thing you're coming from is you're afraid of the mountain to climb, right? You're afraid of that mountain to climb. So you have to ask yourself two questions. Is it because my mentor or my friends are not helping me, and then you need to accept help? It isn't hard to accept, because nowadays everybody's on Instagram and they think, I'm so powerful, I'm so beautiful, I'm so successful. The reality, we're very vulnerable, we need help. Accept it, and this, if you call for help, people will help you. One is that. Number two, maybe you're procrastinating something because you really don't care. So ask yourself, do you really care about that? Maybe you're spending your life on something that is not important to you. Doesn't mean it's not important in itself, but it's not important to you. You need to find your inner voice, and you're not attracted by it. I don't know if anybody else has a better answer to that. But I think if you constantly pushing something behind is maybe because it's not interesting to you. You should think if you want to spend your life doing that, especially at this young age. Maybe there's something else that is more exciting to you. I found myself always procrastinating when I was studying mathematics and physics, right? I thought, and it took me over a year to realize I really don't like that. I like the content, but that's not who I want to be.
Thank you. Questions? Please, there is.
So this is not a question. I just wanted to say that I find your speech very interesting and inspiring. So thank you for coming here today and sharing your advices with us.
Thank you so much. It touches me. Thank you. Thank you. I really didn't want to come, I have to say. Peter forced me to come. I said, Peter, what do I have to tell people? They know much better. There's so much more brilliant people that could talk about these topics. I didn't want to tell you about urology and urologic diseases because you probably would all run away. But I hope some of the things, and I think the reason probably it touched you is because we all have the same fears, the same problems, right? But we need to talk about it.
Thank you. Any more questions? So we would like to thank you, Shahrokh, very much, and we would like to give you as a memory the regular medal we usually provide.